All right, welcome everyone to the final Padgett message for the year. And this one is on, let me just share the screen. This one is from 20th of April, 1916. What are the greatest truths in all the world? It's a message from Solomon. And it's a very short message. And yet, when we started to listen to Mary and Jesus discussing it, it's like the whole world opened up about this conversation. But he said, what is the greatest thing in all the world? Prayer and faith on the part of the mortals, and love, divine love on the part of God. The later, can't say the word, is waiting, and the former causes it to enter into the souls of man. So love is waiting, but when we engage prayer and faith, it enters the soul. No other truth are so great and momentous to men. Let what I say sink deep into your memory and try the experiment. I know you do try, he's saying to James, but try and then try and never cease trying. Love will come to you, and with it faith, and then knowledge, and then ownership. That's the message. And then there was a conversation about it on the Divine Truth website. So I'm just going to try to share that. So there is the Divine Truth. Mary and Jesus discussed this message in 2013. This is part 1. As you can see, I'm almost done. And then there is a part 2. So, but we try to focus on just the part 1 conversation, where I think Jesus pretty much unpacked the first sentence or something. and you're like, oh, this is a really big issue. And then he goes on to explain further. I've listened to it before, but I didn't get to listen to it for today. So that's where we're at with the message. So comments about the overall message. Jess?
It seemed pretty straightforward, like potent, like, yes, this is important. I'm like, okay, like that feels affirming.
Yeah.
But I was surprised because I haven't watched the videos and I hadn't read the message. And yesterday you're like, oh, it's just like a paragraph, read it. And I read it and I was like, oh, I was like, that's it? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Great.
Yeah.
But I imagine Jesus and Mary could talk about that till the cows come.
Oh, it's you could it's like, I mean, everything Jesus speaks about had a lot of passion, but I felt like this one has a little extra something in his passion for it. And Mary's way of kind of breaking down the questions that we would be thinking of, like, it's quite incredible. Yeah. Other comments?
I've listened to that I've read that message and I've listened to their recordings. Like this is probably my 4th time since you sent it out. Like
Nice.
it keeps coming back and I keep listening to it, and
Okay.
it's like I get something different every time, but I guess each time there's 2 things that kind of stick out to me. I'm always interested in Mary's emotional reaction. Like she had quite and I know it doesn't really have anything to do with the actual message, but she's quite triggered by something in their recording, which I find interesting. And
Okay.
At one point in the message, when she's asking different questions about divine love, and um, she asked a question kind of like, okay, well, so if people, long for divine love and it enters, and like, then what happens? And he kind of, I don't want to say he didn't shut her down, but he was kind of like, well, what, even asking that question means that you
Right.
don't believe, which I understand what he's
You
saying.
don't trust that you don't believe it will work, or you don't believe it will help you, something like that.
Yeah, like he went on a tangent about faith and belief and trust, but I
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
but part of that I feel feels like a legitimate question of like, what does happen when divine, because like you know, we think that, oh, divine love, and I'm just going to feel
Yeah.
love. But
Yeah.
like, you know, to talk about what that actually looks like, I
Yeah.
feel like is important. And I wish that they would have gone into that more. Because
Okay.
I think I know from my own experience what that's like. But like
Yeah.
it's nice to have that discussion. Because like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know. Anyway, so
Yeah. What happens to the soul? What changes? Yeah. What does it
yeah,
do?
and what does that actually like? It's quite. It can be. I know love is not painful, but
Yeah.
it removes a lot of pain and
Yeah.
not a glorious like fuzzy experience necessarily.
No.
And yeah, I guess I just always wish that he had his tangent and then also answered her question
Yeah.
because I'd
Yeah.
like to know more about that.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody
Good.
else got that.
It's good that you want to know. That's a question driving your experiment, your exploration.
Mm-hmm.
So that will definitely yield a response from your
Yeah.
guides, from God. There's going to be something happening in response to that. That's really good. Other comments about the
I
overall message? Jill
go
and
ahead.
then Mike. Oh, Jill first, Mike, and then Nancy. Sorry.
Um, so I'm on the same wavelength as Adrian, where I would have liked an explanation. Just because, you know, I mean, trying to figure out what love is,
Yeah.
and then like what, because now we know that there's different kinds of love. It's like, okay, well, what does love actually feel like from God? Like I know, like Adrian said, yes, it can be painful because it's removing a lot of stuff, but
Mhm.
what does that feel like? What does it like? I need an example. Like I need to know what
Okay.
to kind of look out for. Because
Okay.
if it's just pain, like if I recognize it as, well, this is more pain, then
Okay.
I'm gonna miss it, I guess, is what my fear was that, well,
Okay.
if I don't know what I'm looking out for, I know what pain feels like. I'm very comfortable there,
Yeah.
even create it myself.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm just in a lot of anger at the moment. So I'm sorry if
Okay.
it's projecting through.
Okay.
I apologize for that, guys. But um, it's, you know, if I think I know what anger feels like, but is it different feeling anger from God? Is it, or not anger? Sorry,
Love.
is different feeling love? Love, anger to me is love. Um, is it different? Like, is it like it just brought up a lot of other sort of curiosity questions that I
Okay.
wish he would have gone into. And I understand where he was going. Like I understand is like, no, it doesn't take away the effect. It doesn't, like if you feel pain, it doesn't take away the effect. It removes the cause, but it doesn't take away the
Removes the
effect.
cause.
I get that. It removes the
For me,
cause. I
that's the
get
carrot. If that will remove the cause for my addictions, okay. I don't care. Just get the cause out. I had a false belief that God abandoned me, and that's why I have all this anger and all the addictions connected to that. Well, remove the cause. No, God didn't abandon me. Oof. Okay, moving on. Next. That's my attitude right now. I'm so tired of working through all this addiction, and you're just pounded by it. You're like, okay, will this remove it? I'll take it. So sorry, that's my perspective. Like, so you want to know what it feels like, and you want to know what it does when you receive it. Is that what it is? You want to know what it feels
well,
like to receive divine love.
yeah, yes, that's what I'd like to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that what Adrian was asking as well, right? Just going back to Adrian.
Yeah, like I guess what does it feel like? Like what does it actually look like? What is like the process? Because like because I don't, it's not a pretty process a lot like where we're currently at in our mortal
Meltdown.
existence. And I'd like to know the nitty gritties of it. And and so maybe it's the same thing, but
Okay.
like I want to know what it feels like, but I also want to know what the reality of that scenario is. And I think because the reality of the scenario with us right now is that it's not always going to feel good. And so if people need to, like, if people kind of knew what to expect, and I know expectations, blah, 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 but like to push through that, to,
Yeah.
because it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna long for divine love, and then I fucking cried for 4 hours and it felt terrible. Why would I do that again? Sorry, I swore. Like,
I love it. My
but like,
goodness,
because
this is
that could
awesome.
be very deterring for some people if they
Okay.
didn't have, like, do you know what I'm saying? Do I know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Does
yeah,
anybody-
yeah, yeah. I got it. I got it. Yeah. Yeah. So we're still, and I am very blocked to having emotional meltdowns. We were just talking earlier about like how much I control what I share on social media because I don't want to trigger emotional meltdown in other people that I feel I'll then have to cope. So obviously I'm blocked to being emotionally overwhelmed. Like we just did mediumship and we were looking at babies and just the overwhelmed emotion of how much they were just, the babies were really feeling their emotion was so overwhelming. I was like, oh, I can't cope with this. So it's bringing up a block. I think it's bringing up a block of we're blocked to being emotionally overwhelmed, and God's love is going to be overwhelming. Always. It's always going to be overwhelming. But then at some point, there's no sadness or fear being triggered at the same time. So you're just overwhelmingly good. Overwhelmed. So I think this is the block it's bringing up. And also I guess we don't trust that it works. Because that's what I said. We don't trust it works, or we don't trust it can happen for us. Can't remember the exact sentence you said in that comment. So that would be a block. Like, why would I put myself through this emotionally overwhelming? For me, I'm saying, well, God will remove the cause. I'm excited. This desire growing that something will remove the cause of my addictions. Oh my God, please, can somebody help me here? So the desire is growing. It needs to go beyond my desire to not be overwhelmed. I just need to get one of them has got to come down or up. And then I'll be willing to go through it. So those are my thoughts so far. And then Michael and then Nancy.
This was a really confronting message for me.
Okay.
I'll just start by saying I don't pray for divine love because I prayed for it and didn't receive it. And so why make the effort?
Right.
But I also know that if I'm not receiving it, there's reasons for it. So I feel like divine love is like putting a roof on a house, but I have to build the walls first. So I have to deal with my addictions and my false beliefs and the things that are in the way of receiving love. I think he has said that divine love doesn't open the soul, but truth opens the soul to receive divine
Yes.
love. So when he says try the experiment, it's not as simple as Helen talking to Padgett's two friends, and they say pray to feel that God's love for you. It's not that simple. Maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was that simple, but I have responsibility now to my soul to release the error in me and deal with why I want to hold on to that.
Okay.
And there is so much meaning behind the phrase try the experiment, that I just want. And I felt like the mediumship with the Atlanta group this morning, I just felt unworthy because I really was unworthy. I mean, I know what we need to be doing from the message, and I'm nowhere near it. And also I do, like Adrian and I think Jill, I get confronted when Mary asks like an innocent question, or maybe a question on behalf of all of us that are watching,
Mhm.
and he AJ, you treat your soulmate that way? But it must be loving, right?
Yes.
He's
Kurt,
if
he's
it's truth or
very
sympathy,
firm.
he's on the side of truth,
Yes.
he's firm.
Okay. And he's confronting our false beliefs as maintaining a certain attitude. a certain position. So that's being confronted. Because, yeah, wow, I love it. Okay. Yeah, the thing here, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Also, Adrian, you said cry for 4 hours and feel lousy afterwards. That kind of something like that. Look, I want to pull an AJ on you. I think there's something in the text. I was reading and listening at the same time, and I think he said when you receive divine love, there will be emotion and then you'll feel better afterwards. And that's how you know you've received it. And it's not truth that hurts, it's the removal of the error that hurts, right? So he's trying to get our thinking in line with truth so that we don't have another block to receiving something that's good for us.
But that's why I feel like it's important for him, like, because I have gone through that process and gone through pain, and then felt that relief and that, you know, something different on the other side. But what I'm like, the average person, or maybe somebody who's very new to all of this, would they persist through it if it wasn't, you know, clear? And again, they have to do their own experiment.
That's exactly.
That's
So we have to be confronted with a false belief. Does it work? Why go for it? How does it help? And then, and to overcome that, why faith and prayer, constant faith and prayer is gonna be, that intense longing has to be developed to overcome millennia of false beliefs about God and God's love. Mike?
I want to feel that if anybody receives divine love, that the feeling of receiving it and possessing it and the changes that it makes is so unique and so special, and so many things that we never let go of it, and it can never leave us, and it'll always, even if it's a nagging voice, it will always be there to somehow propel us forward. Like if we get the first blast and then it's a horrible experience, the feeling of the goodness that we receive will remain and draw us. That's my hope.
Well, we do have to cope with the experience of releasing false beliefs. We do have to cope and endure the painful removal. Like that is the whole point of being emotional. The whole point why we block emotion is that we don't want to be overwhelmed with pain leaving us, but it's leaving us. So it's and this is why we have to endure so much damage. Like my addiction have caused so much damage that only then I went, is something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Oh, do I have to be emotional? Like the blocks to having to feel pain has created 20 times more pain. So at some point that block is going to have to be confronted, that I don't want to be emotionally overwhelmed. I want to be in control. But these are just belief systems we inherited. We don't even have a choice to deciding if we even believe in it or agree with it. We just took on what we absorbed and say, yeah, that is how I feel. No, that's what I was told. And that mediumship about the babies we just did just has knocked me just, whoo, like my defenses were down. I felt how overwhelmingly they are in their emotions, and like that's what it's got to look like. And I'm trying to push it down, so I'm having a headache right now. So I'm trying to push down how overwhelmed I felt with what I just experienced. So I think this is bringing up a very good block that collectively we're blocked to being overwhelmed, and that's why we're blocking God's love from entering us, and that the removal of false belief hurts. It hurts inside, but we pretend it's not hurting, right? We numb it and everything, and facade and addiction, right? Like it's always hurting us. We just numbed it out. And then when it comes out, ooh. So we're being confronted by that. And therefore, to go against it, and to go against the whole world, 9 billion plus 20 billion spirits all saying, don't do that, we're going to need a lot of faith and prayer. I'm going to have to keep moving into that direction. For me, the fact that God's love could remove the cause, oh boy, I want it. I want it. I don't know if I'll have to keep, so that for me, I think it's probably, I can call it a faith. I have faith that God's love will remove the cause of my sins, and how much I would love that is probably a faith. That could be one example of a faith I have. And then I can keep praying for it. And then hopefully over time, it will get bigger than, I mean, I'm just thinking efficiency. Like, I worked so hard at deconstructing facade and friction and this and that, and just walking around in circles. And unfortunately, I had to pray a lot, or I could never get to it. But then imagine there's a way that the cause can just be removed by one substance. That's pretty efficient. It's beginning to get more attractive by the minute. I want to hear Nancy and then Jill. Nancy?
I was just going to say I could so relate with Adrienne with what you brought up about that wanting to know the answer, and because I focused on that for some reason as well, and I realized when I was like feeling into that, it was initially it felt like, you know, control, like I wanted to have control of like what that is. But when I stepped back from that, then I realized what you said about the newer people is that, which is me, right? Is that to me, I felt like if I could know that, then it would be encouraging, because there would be like a sense of, I don't want to say accomplishment, that's not the right word, but no, you know, just knowing that you're on the right track kind of thing. Because I think of Enrique right now. He's like, when I met with him, he's like, yeah, a lot of times we dig in the wrong place. You know, we're digging away, but we're like digging in the wrong place. And I'm like, exactly. So, you know, but obviously it wasn't meant for him to answer that, or he would have. But there's still that wondering. And then that's when, to me, it just comes back to the experiment, like, and having the faith, like trusting that I'm being guided. And I can relate, Michael, to what you said about the divine, praying for divine love, because in the beginning, I mean, I was like gung ho. I think I had shared before that I literally every hour put on my calendar a reminder, pray for divine love, pray for divine love. And like, I felt like nothing was happening. So I was like, okay, this is a waste. So then I stopped, because I was like, okay, what, you know, but then I kind of like felt into it, and I was like, well, it seems like a waste, but I don't believe it's a waste. So I don't pray every hour now, but I'm just saying, like, I do pray for divine love just because I believe in it, you know, even though I'm not quite there yet with, I honestly don't even know if I've received it or not. I mean, I stopped trying to figure it out, because, you know, I don't need to know. I'd like to know, but I don't need to know. It's just what's changing in my life, you know, that's where it really, to me, says, if I notice a shift in my behaviors or my beliefs, you know, then I'm working towards that. But yeah, I would definitely have liked to have heard what he would say. And, you know, so I just share that. Yeah.
Well, here's the way I like to do it. My guides are celestial spirits. They are receiving God's love. And I asked them what it's like, because they're willing to do it, and I like them and I trust them. So that's my faith growing, because I'm like, I know you guys and you like it. You love receiving it. Look how much you've changed. And somehow you're okay with it. You're surviving the experience. So what can you tell me about it? What's it feel like? I like to ask, what's it like to feel God's approval all the time? What's it like to get God's validation all the time? Like, what's it like? Give me a taste. So that is growing my faith, or that's basically asking somebody who has it, what's it like for you? And they'll give me their feeling and then some, because the point is to always be overwhelmed. I remember from one of the earlier talks, the goal is to constantly be overwhelmed. So the painful emotions are overwhelming, but constantly stretching your emotional muscle so that at some point you can handle constantly being overwhelmed by God's love, because that's going to be your forever existence. You got to be used to being overwhelmed. So that's a block we all have to get across at some point. But then I love what you guys are asking. It's like, how do I develop faith that this works? And he stopped asking that very question that you're like, oh gosh, now I have to figure it out for myself. Or who else can I ask? So I would say engaging our guides would really help, because they went through it. And my guides had more severe traumas, more severe emotional pain than me to go through. And they did it. So what got them through? What was it like? What's it like for them now?
I feel years ago when I was in like really, really dark places and in the emotional turmoil and having no idea what was going on, like completely blind to everything, you said one line to me and you said, the pain means that it's leaving. And had I like, if I didn't know that, again, I don't know if I would have been able to persist through it. So again, I wish that was just like on billboards everywhere, because I feel like it's a really important piece to know. Because as soon as you said that to me and that landed, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this then. And again,
And
like
what you were going through was intense. She was in such despair.
Yeah, it was. But like lots of people, again, if you know that it's going somewhere, then I feel like we'd all be more willing to engage and do that.
Okay.
Anyway, so I know I'm just repeating.
It's like, okay, God, sell it to me. Why should I go for this with everything I have?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like thinking, can I say this out loud in public? But I was like, Jesus is doing a sales pitch for divine love in this video. It's like that's what he's doing. Okay, that's a really good comment. Why would we even faith and prayer? But first you got to be convinced that this is a good thing. This is something you want to have. I want to feel God's truth about my what. Again, because I do mediumship, and when I feel how bad people feel about themselves, I get pretty upset. Like when I feel how they feel about their what, I'm like, oh, that's really upsetting. And my prayer is, God, I wish that they knew your feeling of their what, because you make very different decisions. You treat yourself and everybody else differently. If only they knew the truth about their what, about that somebody loves you and think you're the greatest thing ever. God, I wish we knew that. So that's growing my faith, I would say, because that would solve a lot of problems right from the get-go. Can you imagine if you knew what you were with right from the get-go as a baby? All the things we do to try to earn it, or how angry we are that everybody else has it and we don't, and how much trouble are we saving ourselves? So that's one thing that comes up. What other stuff would you say? If only we knew the truth about this, and we could have been saved a lot of trouble on the planet. What would you say that is for you? For everybody? Jill?
Know that you're loved.
Yeah. So no matter what your earth parents are doing, what they're going through, I guess because I think that's how Jesus felt in his first century life. Worthlessness was removed from his soul, so he was open to being loved. Why wouldn't you be? And Jill, I think one time we were speaking to your spirit children, and we asked them, like, why do you feel you deserve love or something like that? And your kids like, why wouldn't I? He thought question was absurd. Like, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't I deserve love? What does that even mean? It was just lovely to feel somebody feel that about themselves. What else do you wish Earth knew?
That you're not alone. Like, we do have guides and spirit friends around us. Like, I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
That's happening.
I wish
that
I
you're
could turn
wanted.
on. Sorry, that you wanted.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I just said I wish that you were, or to know that you're wanted.
Somebody wants you, which is why he made you. And I made you a companion, so you'll always have a companion forever and ever. That's a lot of care. Michael?
I have a question and then a statement. So what was it that Jesus got from God at birth that he did not, was it he did not take on the projections of others, or
The low self-worth was removed from his soul. That was it. If I remember correctly. Low self-worth that all humans have. All of us absorb low worthlessness in our souls. We all have that. But that was removed from his soul by God. So to him, feeling the presence of God made sense. That a being loves him. He just accepted it because worthlessness was removed, is what I remember. I could be paraphrasing, but that was the only thing that was removed from that top soul.
Okay, thank you. This is tangential, but it relates. This is me personally. A couple of, like 2 months ago, you had us feel something from God. And what I came away with was like a download and a love feeling that told me God wants me to succeed. God knows I can succeed. God will help me to succeed. He wants me to do it now. It's like, should I wait till I die or do it now? Do it now. And then I have all these resources, and it's like, and so I haven't really acted on it. So I have to apply it now. Excuse me, that's the bell to help my father. But it's like a gift I wasn't looking for, and it must be what I need right now, is that confidence and that feeling, and then to build an act on it. So my answer to your question about what do we need to know is God has set this up for me to work and wants it to succeed and will help me in every way to succeed.
And the only way you're going to act on it is if you have faith in it. Faith is what makes you act. So when we have corrupt faith, we are currently acting on that corrupt faith, and we're living and reinforcing false beliefs. And when we have positive faith, we will act on it. I mean, there's still a choice to not act on your faith, but faith is what will make you act. So if you have this faith that my guides have received God's love, have become at one with God, and are doing quite well, thank you. I sure love hanging around them. Sure like who they are and how kind they are to everybody. They don't have to negotiate, loving, unloving, whatever. They're so free. And like, it happened for them, and they're okay. Well, see, my faith is growing. Like, how can I have what you have? Because I like who you are and how kind you are to people. I just love that. Like, I'm like, again, because you're awakening to sin, you're just battered by the awareness of it, that you're like, okay, I surrender. This is exhausting. Get me out of here.
So I have like, you are very mediumistic and you're very aware of your guides and all these people who have divine love.
But I
Like,
wasn't right away. I had to work on it.
But like, again, for the average person who might not have even
Got it.
awareness, like, how does that person build,
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't know any of this if I didn't even, like, if you weren't in my life, then I wouldn't know any, like, even have an inkling. So again, what about my rural Nova Scotia peeps here?
Your rural Nova Scotia is doing very well, thank you. Because we did a retreat
Fair.
there and we were like, holy smoke, these people are open and hungry and no resistance to all this confronting truth. Man, we were
Fair.
blown away.
But you know what I'm saying? Like for the
How
average
do you
person,
sell this? Well, but again, it's your desire that, I mean, your friend, your classmate, right? Adrian, I won't name her. She's the one who first met me and then introduced you to me so that I could fix you, right? She just won't even look at me. She's so mad at me, and yet here you are. So the choices being made, and when you make that choice, you will find somebody. But then all of us here are now, being encouraged to act on our passion so that we can be found by others who are seeking and sharing our journey. But I think the more we become sensitive to pain, to the reality of our life and the pain, the more we're going to ask for help. That is going to happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very blocked. So it takes a lot for me to want to change the direction of my ship. When I first learned about divine truth and it was all about emotion, I just about melted, going, come on, out of all the things I would have had to do, why emotion? Why? So the one thing I least wanted to do is the way. But how do we sell it? How do we sell it? Is the question. Well, I think as you change, yeah, Jess?
I'm more questioning, like, why are we selling it? Or like, to me, if I catch myself in addictions of like, I want to sell this because I want you to know because I'm in addiction, as opposed to just like living it, sharing it, being it. But why selling it?
Yeah. Well, there's usually some love and some fear and some addictions, but it's usually some kind of a pure thing of like, I wish you knew this about you. Like I walk around going, I wish I could turn on some kind of a lens and people could see the guides around them. Like, what would that do for you to just know that? How would that just like blows everything out of the lies out of proportion? It's like, oh, wait, I have people around me waiting to help me and love me and care for me. What am I doing? What am I living like I'm a nobody? I'm an orphan or something. So that's a desire. I wish everybody knew this. So yeah, I wish people knew a truth, one truth. Even that will change everything for you. But then, and also because we're seeing like there's a lot of pain, we're becoming more sensitive, right? So we're more aware of how much hardships there is, and then we're doing mediumship. So we really see how much pain gets created beyond it to a lot of innocent people. So it's a good thing that we're becoming sensitive. But then, yeah, how do you say to somebody who's like, what do you mean I have to feel emotion? I don't have addictions, to saying, if you just pray and have faith in divine love, that'll change everything. How do you get from here to there? Jess?
I think for me, like the sharing it is through storytelling, where you can say like, do this and it will do this. But if there's actual like contextual, like I went through this specific hell, I felt this specific thing, these were my physical symptoms, and then this shifted. And that arc, I think for me, is very helpful for people to be like, oh, I want that. Or some people witness a shift and then I'd be like, how did you do that? And it's in the story of I went from here and this is what happened, as opposed to it being theoretical. Like I really appreciate, like, I can't remember what video it was, but Jesus and Mary were talking about something, and then it ended up being this like 2-hour long thing because Mary stopped and went and processed in the middle of it and got to see her like in action of
Ah,
it. So, or like the context of Jesus not just saying like on the whiteboard, and this is this and this is that, when he's like tells his personal experience of it. And I'm like, you did it. It's not just theory. And that to me is really inspiring. And that's what I feel like people are
okay.
inspired by through me.
So basically, in other words, Jess, we're it. We're going to have to do it. And then we'll inspire others. We're going to have to we're going to have to tell ourselves, okay, divine love supposedly will solve a lot of things by removing cause. It is the thing to go for, according to Solomon. And he have lived a very, very long time, was a wise king to begin with. He really had a good life, a good connection to God. And out of thousands of years of his life, he said, that's it. Here are the two things you need to know. So that's a lot of wisdom. Like, that's an elder. And he said, that's it. You just got to do these two things so that you can get that one thing. Your life's sorted. Kind of helpful. And so we're like, okay, do we want to take this on? Why would we want to do this? Now, I'm always going to my guides and saying, sell this to me. Convince me. Please change my mind. So that, but I feel that even if you don't feel your guide or see your guide, ask. Because somehow I just knew they were there and I couldn't feel them. But I would ask, and then I always expect a book to show up. That was my in back then. Some kind of a book will show up. If it's been more than a week and a book doesn't show up, I'm like, what's going on? Where's my book? I'm expecting it. Let's go. But that is a fate. Go ahead, James.
I have a book for you that I forgot to give you yesterday.
Over later. So okay. But that again, I guess that's my fate that got developed. Whenever I ask a question, somebody always give me an answer, and it's usually a book. And the Divine Truth videos, I didn't watch the videos. I read the transcript because I've been developed to read. And even now I've gone back to reading transcripts again. That's my preferred method. So, but that's a fate. We already have a fate. What else? What other fate could you try to kind of, I have faith that's by engaging the other steps Jesus have taught me about, like, here's how you deal with addiction. So I started practicing the steps. And now I'm like, oh my God, some of the addictions are finally leaving. Like, I have faith that he said that and it worked. I like who I'm becoming. Holy, that was 9 years. So, now I have faith in the next thing he taught. That, getting divine love will remove the cause. Boy, would I like that. It's been 9 years of, banging my head everywhere. And I'm doing that with God and guides. And even that is like, wow, is there an easier way? But I do have a block that I can receive love and what the truth is about it. And yet I have other addiction that stop me from fully acting on it. Because Jesus did say you may receive divine love, but yet you won't act on the changes he will encourage you to make. So when I was listening to the video, I was kind of judging myself, like shaming myself, going, well, you're not really acting on some things. So could be a good, healthy conscience to feel. So that could be a block. But we have to make a choice to explore the faith. So what would yours be? What faith can you explore? Before you even want to seek divine truth, there could be a few other steps you need to go into. Like Adrian is saying, what's it look like? Like, what will it do? I need to know. And Jill said the same thing. So that could be worth experimenting. Michael?
I don't have a specific faith, but you said we have faith, we will act. I want to back up. For me, I have to have the desire and the will. And then I'll do something that I think is true. And if it turns out, then I have faith.
Exactly.
So
which is what we
faith
did
is,
in May. Remember in May, we talked about the steps Jesus gave for developing faith was you got to experiment, you got to have evidence, and then you will develop faith. So you're saying it. That's exactly the steps. back in the Invermere. Yeah. Faith require experimentation. Because you're not supposed to have blind faith. You need evidence. You need to, like, yeah. And then you will say, like I said, the other stuff Jesus had taught has worked for me. So now I have faith that the other steps he have also taught may also work. Now I have evidence to back up the experiment. So now I have faith for future things. Yeah, experiment. Because did Solomon actually mention the word experiment, right? Yeah. Man of few
Try to
words.
experiment.
Yeah. What else would you like to experiment with?
I was just going to add that. Oh, go ahead, Jess. I didn't raise my hand. Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, for me, with my faith, it's been like through prayer and actually getting answered prayers
Yes.
that has built my faith.
Okay.
But what I think would help me even more is, and I cannot find this video I'm looking for, that Jesus, one of his videos that really dug into prayer and how it talked about, you can pray all you want, but if you're not praying, if you, or the answers, I guess, I don't know, I can't say, I need to find it, listen to it, but something about if you're praying for people or something, and it's the law of attraction thing, like, the answer is not necessarily going to be, you're not going to get that answer necessarily because there's you're not at the root or something. I don't know, something to that effect.
Remove the cause, not the effect.
Yeah, that exactly that. So for me, I get confused sometimes about what the differences are. So when I pray, I just like pray, and I don't try to in my mind go, okay, is this, whatever. But what happens is I get discouraged when, the answers don't come or whatnot over time, because there's a part of me that believes, it will. And that's how I've gotten to the faith that I have now. But I still would like to definitely increase my faith. And it's all tied up in that, the prayer piece of it. So
the talk you're referring to is Introduction to Prayer.
Oh, it's in the introduction one? Okay, I looked, I
mention
couldn't
it
find
only
it.
once every time. I know Jess is laughing. It is
Okay.
absolute favorite talk of all time. Is it 2009 or 2012? It's one of those talks. I cannot get enough of it. It was and he called it Introduction to Prayer Part 1. And I'm like, what happened to Part 2? Where's Part 2? But yeah, that one talk. And I also used to, as a child, pray a lot about, all the violence I was going through. And in my child's experience, I didn't get an answer. So can you imagine? That took 20 years to work through the anger and the heartbreak about it. And then I did get an answer. I did get an emotional answer of how did God respond? How did God rescue me? Got that answer, which is, I haven't let myself emotionally fully feel the truth of what I got there. But that's definitely, I mean, you know what the emotion is? God's not answering my prayer. Feel that. Get that sadness out. And then, but yeah, there's some good example of prayers we can do. Michael, were you going to mention the same talk?
When Nancy was saying that she just prays what she feels, which I think we have to pray from our soul, right? So why decipher it? But it reminded me of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what'll stick.
Yeah.
So we got to learn what prayers are going to work.
And you sometimes, because when we pray and then your law of attraction ramp up, you're like, oh, I guess they just show me the block to trigger the emotion that created the effect. It could be what's happening. Or sometimes you're praying, God, please take away the effect from me. Well, then, yes, that's not going to be responded to. You're like, I don't want to have to feel the consequence, the effect of this creation. I don't want to have to be emotionally overwhelmed. Take it away. That's not going to be answered. We're made to be overwhelmed. So what do we really feel about faith and prayer to seek divine love? What are we actually feeling? Are we feeling like, I'm not convinced, I don't think it's going to happen for me? I'm feeling that I'm not pure enough for those things. Ooh, this has been triggered as an LOA for the past 3 days. The same block. Because I compare myself to Mary and I go, oh, well, I'll never be her, as in I'll never be as pure as her. And I said that very word, pure, and here I am connecting to the same block. I'm not pure enough. I'm not one of those that can pray for divine love and receive it. That's not for the likes of me. So that's my feeling that is blocking me, definitely. The other one is I feel shame that I don't act on the truth I receive. That's my other block. I am judging myself. That I'm not ethical enough. I don't have enough integrity. I mean, there's a judgment in there. Something like that is coming up for me. What comes up for you guys? Michael?
I feel like I should pass this on. Years ago, when AJ and Mary were speaking in Philadelphia, I attended, and they had dinner at a restaurant, and so there was tables, and I happened to be sitting next to him, and he made a comment like, I haven't received divine love for 1.5 years, and I'm trying to figure out, where am I out of truth? What am I missing? So because he can't receive it, he knows he has a block somewhere.
Okay. But he's looking for it. He's seeking it. He's longing for it. We're not even doing that. What's blocking now?
And when he said that, I thought it would be like an emotion, like, I created every sphere above the 6th sphere, and what is my human emotion feel in response to that? I felt like it was something on that scale that
Oof.
is really difficult, or
Oof.
things that only he would feel.
Yeah. I mean, there is that, like, how overwhelming are their emotions that they have to experience, because they're contrasting it from their environment with your soulmate level to now. Like, that's a huge contrast. Yeah. Gotta have pretty intense longing. But then I used to have this feeling of, but they know what it's like to receive God's love. They've felt it before. They know what it's like to be loved. I used to have quite a few emotions around it that has been released, hopefully. What else are your blocks, Jess?
I feel like I'm sold on faith and prayer. Like, I'm like, from my experiments, prayer works. I'm excited about it. Like that intro to prayer, those videos, amazing. When Nancy and I were like, oh, are you going to talk? Am I going to talk? I was going to talk about prayer also. So I was like, that's why I was laughing. And then you mentioned these videos that I keep going back to recently. So thank you for that. But so I'm sold on prayer. I have faith in regard to my creative world, and I go for things, and I'm now starting to have faith around like abundance and being like, okay, I'm going to this retreat, I'm going to that. So I really feel like I have faith in certain areas, and I really feel that prayer works. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not blocked to that, but if I'm not engaging it, what's causing that? And I just kind of tapped into rebellion, where it's like, no, I'm not going to do what's good for me. I'm not going to eat my vegetables. Don't tell me what to do. And so I am in rebellion. And so I'm stuck in this like angry teenager, fuck you, dad. I'm stuck in that anger. And so I'm like, all these good things are coming to me. Why am I not enjoying them? because
Yeah.
I don't want what's good for me, because don't tell me what's good for me and don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So like there's that stuff around my parents that are keeping me from even enjoying
Yeah.
the things. Like I do have faith, and I do like I have faith that prayer works, but I want to be in that rebellion
Yeah.
so strongly. It's keeping me from that.
And the whole world is in rebellion. Like they want us to stay in rebellion. Even when you try to get out of rebellion, you start to feel projections from people around you because you're no longer in agreement with them. They said we're all in rebellion together. It's usually when you have a certain group of friends or society groups, it's because you're all in agreement about the anger. So yeah, rebellion, human rebellion. I think a lot of that talk is covered in the 2016, the November, December, about God's laws. There's a lot of talks on human rebellion that you could look at. So yeah, I am holding on to my rebellion as well. Like, so if I receive more and more of God's love and God's truth, then I'm going to have to act on it. And no, I want to do what I want to do. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to have my will. So that definitely could be a block because I was very controlled by my mother. So I will be very reactive to any suggestions of that, even though that's not what's happening. And I already know that's not what's happening. I already have feelings where, as I connected to some parts of my real self, I'm enjoying experimenting how I want to express it. Like there's no demands whatsoever. I get to play with how I want to express these gifts. It's so fun. So I again, like I have evidence like you, but yet this human rebellion is probably, we just probably need to say, you know what, I just need to get this anger out. This is ridiculous. We just have to experience it. I don't know. We'll have to work on it. Or maybe we can see the true damage of what holding on to the anger is really costing us. That'll make us wake up too.
Well, like for one, physical pain and like physical symptoms. I'm like, yeah, it's costing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And what happiness are we avoiding for ourselves and others by not receiving God's love? Oh, I like this question. What happiness does it cost me by not receiving more of God's love? What's the actual cost to this? That could get us going. Like our guides are sold on it and they're getting something out of it. So what is it that they're getting that I'm not because of it? Yeah. So, Michael?
He kind of answers that question, although in a vague way, near the end of the first recording,
Okay.
because he says there's like 1 billion changes that happen to us. And like if we only knew, we would.
If we only knew.
But he didn't. Maybe we can't know, and that's something we just have to take on faith.
We don't have the soul capacity, but I feel your guides can show you. I feel they can give you feelings of what it's like for them. Like I look at their freedom and I go, oh my goodness, the freedom you have to do whatever you want and not have to, double, triple check loving, unloving addiction, where it's coming from. You don't have to ever think about that ever again. Like whatever love you receive in that one particular issue, if you let it sink in, you will always act in harmony with God on that issue. The freedom. Oh, so I can see the cost of that. Like that, not having that freedom is costly. Constantly being battered by the law of compensation, that's a cost. They don't have to deal with that. They can do anything they want, and they're still learning and experimenting with anything, but they will never break God's laws ever again. Dang, that's exciting. Michael?
God is training us to be our real selves.
Right.
Through all of this, the real prayer comes from our soul, and we discover who we are in our soulmates. We discover so
Yeah.
much about ourselves. So my faith, the thing I'd like to have faith in is that this process is going to lead me to who I am and get through all the crap that I live in, that I've created.
Okay. Okay. Receiving God's love will help me become who I really am. Discover.
I have a personal investment and value in that. It's not altruistic. It's
Yeah.
like,
No. Exactly. Well, to be altruistic, you got to be you first. Then you have something to offer. That's a good one. That's a good faith building. That's a good faith right there. And for me, it's also, kind of personal for me that I'm saying receiving God's love will remove cause of my sins. Yes, please. Can I have that happiness? That's personal too, right? Like, I want this. I'm exhausted. So, how about others?
What's the question again? What are we?
What beginning? What faith can you start to lean into to explore? Maybe this is worth going for. Receiving divine love. Or what could grow your faith? Like for me to ask, oh, what happiness am I losing or not getting by not receiving God's love? That will now grow my faith, right? By asking truth. What could yours be? If you want to. Michael?
I have a desire to be real. Ever since high school, when I was in the play, The Velveteen Rabbit, I think the rabbit wanted to be real.
Okay,
That's when I first became aware of it. And here we are in the first sphere. I'm modeling my behavior and normalcy and my emotions on all the stuff that's around me. And it's not me.
No. So that's enough to sell it to you. Okay.
I am not this crap I'm.
No. I'm worth more. Yeah. I'm who I really am is good. So faith, you gotta then build it up. You pick one and then you start to add more and you start to add more and you keep growing and growing and growing. God wants who I really am. So if I receive God's love, I'm only going to become more me. I've lived not being me. I like to try to be me, to find me. Now your faith is growing. Who I really am must be good. So now you're now leaning into the faith to pull you forward. I want to know who that is. Who is this good person God made? It's got to be there. Yeah. Michael?
If you step into muddy soil, a clay soil, like with your boots, and so you can't move because you're about that deep in it. And so, but then you start to step out and the galoshes stay in the mud and your foot slips out of the shoes.
Right.
So having the faith that you're describing, that I am worth more than this, is like pulling myself out of the mud that my soul is in and feeling it clinging to me, but also in that suction.
Yes.
Pulling myself up.
Yes. Okay. And I just got a vision showing us that our guides are saying, come. And your faith is saying, oh, sure, pick me out of here. I'll leave my boots behind. Let's go. That's faith. That's faith. Faith is just saying, oh, didn't see you there. Sure. It'll even make you start looking for who's around you already. There's a rope coming your way. There's a helicopter hovering with a rope waiting to lift you up. Yeah. Okay, that's beautiful. All you have to do is drop your boots, leave them behind, which is probably the rebellion. Oh boy.
I love my boots. They fit me. They're mine. I'm not letting go.
Fit me. That's who I am. That's gorgeous. I like that analogy. Okay, so I can see that this topic is like, wow, it really brings up some good blocks. That's good. Jess?
I'm trying to remember Adrian's one-liner that like you're like we should get signs made or posters or put it on billboards. What
The
was said?
pain means that it's leaving.
Thank you. I gotta write that down. Thank you. The pain means it's leaving.
And what I'm saying to my hurt self when this pain comes up is, God wished to remove this pain from you. Can this happen? Can you allow this? That seems to be the next, my line to myself. Just kind of like creating a reminder, it's God who's removing pain. It's just getting pulled out. Yeah. Okay, well, this has been an interesting conversation. And we're gonna end this series of Padgett messages here. And then we'll see how we pick up in 2024.
Thank you.
Just gonna